Hello you guys, my name is Nobukumano and welcome to my channel. Happy first Thursday of the month, which means today we're doing something a little bit more inspirational and something a bit more value-based. Before we go any further, if you haven't subscribed yet, please click the subscribe button and also remember to like, share and plug your friends and your family. So we are 4 months into the year. We're in the fifth month now, and I was thinking about how most of us, I hope, set resolutions at the beginning of the year of the things that we want to do. And one of my resolutions was to read a book a month. So I thought, since we're going into the fifth year, maybe I could inspire someone to pick up a book and start reading. It's never too late, even though you'll be joining us in May. But I thought one way to do that is to share a little bit about the books that I've read so far in the year. So I'm not sure if you can see, if the focus is good, but these are the 4 books that I've read so far in their order. So The Richest Man in Babylon, and then I read Atomic Habits, and then I read The Psychology of Money, and then I read Amanda Dambuza's Baked in Pain. So I'm not going to try and talk you through all the books because it will become a very long video. So what I'll do instead is I am going to read, what's this that's at the back? I don't remember what it's called, the stuff that they write at the back. So I'm going to read whatever is at the back of the book, and then I'm going to just give you a few highlights of what I learned from the books, hoping that you will be inspired to pick up either these books or anything else that you might want to read. So starting with The Richest Man in Babylon. This is the book that actually sparked my interest in reading. And those of you who follow me on Instagram, you remember that I even hosted like a book club every Thursday where we would, read a chapter or 2 of the book and then just dive into it, and the principles that were in it. So this one, this book is by George S. Clason, but the forward, this particular version is by Dave Ramsey. So I'll read what's at the back, right? So, money is plentiful for those who understand the simple rules of its acquisition. The Richest Man in Babylon has been a favorite of Dave Ramsey's for years. Set in ancient Babylon, this book is an inspiring collection of stories about people who have struggled with and overcome the same money problems most people face. I say people, but it's written Americans, but I feel like people around the world face. Feeling trapped by debt, living paycheck to paycheck with little to no savings. In this exclusive edition of George Clason's classic, George gives his timeless principles for building lasting wealth, while Dave shares his proven money advice using quotes directly from the Dave Ramsey Show. With powerful storytelling, The Richest Man in Babylon gives fresh perspective and encouragement to all who want to change their lives and win with money. This book, I honestly think, is the best book you ever read on personal finance. It is such a simple book. Uses stories to teach simple principles like saving 10% of whatever you earn, making sure that your money works for you, making sure that you live within your means, making sure that when you have debt, how to order your debt. It's just an amazing book on personal finance. So that's the book that I read in January. I then read The Psychology of Money, right? So after I read the principles about money and how to save and how to make money work for you, etc., I figured, let me read this book. I'd also heard a lot about it, and this one is by Morgan Housel, and it's just timeless lessons, about money, greed, wealth. It helps us understand why we make the financial decisions that we make, right? And from this book came the video that I did. I think it was my 3rd or so video, which was titled No One's Crazy, We're All Doing Our Best. Because this book basically teaches us how the way we were raised, the environment that we were brought up in, the community, the parents that we had, the schools we went to influence how we view money. So how I see money and someone who grew up in wealth and privilege sees money are very different, because the struggles that we had, the thoughts that we had, the fears that we had about our security were very different. And so I'm also going to read the back of the book. So says, doing well with money isn't necessarily about what you know. It's about how you behave. And behavior is hard to teach, even to really smart people. Money, investing, personal finance, and business decisions is typically taught as a math-based field, where data and formulas tell us exactly what to do. But in the real world, people don't make financial decisions on a spreadsheet. They make them at the dinner table or in a meeting room, where personal history, your own unique view of the world, ego, pride, marketing, and odd incentives are scrambled together. In The Psychology of Money, award-winning author Morgan Housel shares 19 short stories exploring the strange ways people think about money and teaches you how to make better sense of one's life's most important topics. So I already preempted this one about, when I told you about what it's about, helping you understand even how you view money and where your thoughts and feelings about money come from. And the other thing I like about this book is that it's so packed with not fictitious stories, but actually a lot of history, a lot of financial history. So if you also like knowing about, what happened in the financial crisis, or how some of the wealthiest men made their wealth or lost their wealth, this is a very good read. I then moved away from the money a bit to Atomic Habits. This one is also a very, very good book. Actually, all of them are very good books. I'm sounding like a broken alarm, but this one's also a very good book. So this book is literally about atomic habits, and it talks about how it's the small, little consistent things that result in big and more life-changing and solid, changes in our lives, right? So it's a book about building systems over like having goals. It's a book about being consistent and deciding, starting, and then being consistent, even if it's a little a day, and how that can grow into a bigger life-changing decision and a bigger and life-changing state of being. And again, I'll read what's at the back, right? So, a revolutionary system to get 1% better every day. People think when you want to change your life, you need to think big. But world-renowned habits expert James Clear has discovered another way. He knows that real change comes from the compound effect of hundreds of small decisions. For example, doing 2 push-ups a day, waking up 5 minutes earlier, or reading just 1 more page. He calls them atomic habits. In this groundbreaking book, Clear reveals exactly how these minuscule changes can grow into such life-altering outcomes. He uncovers a handful of simple life hacks, the forgotten art of habit stacking, the unexpected power of the 2-minute rule, or the trick to entering the Goldilocks zone, and delves into cutting-edge psychology and neuroscience to explain why these matter. Along the way, he tells inspiring stories of Olympic gold medalists, leading CEOs, and distinguished scientists who have used the science of tiny habits to stay productive, motivated, and happy. These small changes will have a transformative effect on your career, your relationships, and your life. Great. So that was the first quarter of the year. So it was books on money, finances, personal development. And then I thought maybe for the second quarter of the year, I should kind of move away from those books and read bios, right? And so I decided to pick African authors specifically. I wanted to read stories of Africans, like about the lives of Africans. I feel they're more relatable, and not that I'm not going to pick up any, non-African author, but I just wanted to read stories of Africans, more so Africans that I've interacted with in one way or the other on social media. They kind of feel more relatable, and they feel more, within my reach, and I thought it would be nice to read stories by such African authors. And so in the month of April, I picked up Baked in Pain, right? This is a book by Amanda S. Dambuza, who I highly, highly, highly regard as one of the most influential and smartest businesswomen I've met through Instagram. So I follow her on Instagram, and on Sundays she also does those lives on on YouTube, and I've learned so much from her. So I thought I should read. This was her first book anyway. So it's called Baked in Pain. It's a story about her life. When you look at where she is, how far she's come now, how she's doing exceptionally well, it's easy for you to think she was born with a silver spoon, but actually this book takes you through a very, very hard life. And let me just read the back before I tell you what I learned from this book. So, Baked in Pain by Amanda Sianeliswa Dambuza. Your traumatic past may just be the fuel you need to soar. In Baked in Pain, Amanda takes readers through the emotional roller coaster which was her life growing up in apartheid South Africa. A product of abandonment and rejection, she goes very deep in narrating the abuse she suffered as a child and the negative scripts that were fed to her over the years. She explores, supported with research, the way these messages can be internalized and become the truth. She flips the lid on what is expected of victims of abuse, I like this, and challenges the notion of once abused, always abused, as she reflects on her own life as a mother, wife, and an internationally celebrated businesswoman. What would happen when Amanda finally summons the courage to break free from her old life in search of a relationship with her mother and a brighter future? Will she find what she's looking for? Amanda's candid recollections bare her soul, the deep faith and courage that carried her from her earliest days as a young child to her current life. It is an applaudable universal story. In a time where all forms of abuse remain rife, this book provides incredible inspiration and lessons that will motivate the reader to use their traumatic past as the fuel they need to soar and live a life filled with purpose and to be of service to others. What I like about this is that you're not just reading a story, about someone's life. Because if you're not into bios, you would think, why would I want to spend my time reading a story about someone's life? But what I like is that she mixed her story with psychology. So she will write about an experience and what she thought about it, and then she'll bring in some psychology generally behind what happens in a person's mind when they're abused. So it's a great way to learn about psychology and abuse and what it does to the mind, but also reading a story. And I thought that was a brilliant way for her to share her story. And then now in the book of May, I'm already chuckling. I have decided to read this book. These things really do happen to me by Khaya Dlanga. So I follow Khaya Dlanga on Instagram again, and he's one of the best storytellers I've ever seen. If you check out his captions on most of his pictures, he will tell you a random story about his childhood, as a caption to a picture, and you will literally chuckle through it. If you look at his Q&As and the way he responds to them, he's just a brilliant character as far as storytelling goes, and I think he's really funny as well. So I figured let me read his memoir and yeah, get a lot more of the stories that I've seen on Instagram. So I haven't even started the book, and it's the 4th of May, so I'm kind of behind. But anyway, this is the book that I want to read today, and I'll read the back as usual. Oh, by the way, his friend Trevor Noah, so he had Trevor Noah write this little thing here that says, imagine the most fascinating stories your best friend ever told you. This is a book full of them. You can see why I chose to read the book. Let me read the back as well. Some people know Khaya Dlanga as a highly regarded marketing professional who has worked for several advertising agencies and global blue chip companies. But most people know Khaya as a collector and teller of stories. From his early vlogs to his lively discussions on various social media platforms, which is where I learned about him, Khaya's words have shown us how we all have stories to share and how stories can bring people together. In These Things Really Do Happen to Me, Khaya describes everyday experiences that shaped his life. He recounts amusing anecdotes from chasing horses as a child in rural Transkei to the time he fell asleep next to President Thabo Mbeki, as well as to moving stories such as meeting his sister for the first and only time. Not one to shy away from heavyweight topics, Khaya also shares why conversations about race are not controversial, what his feelings on feminism are, why we must bring back small talk, and how to take a sneaky break when your family is working you too hard. So yeah, this is the book that I'll be reading in May, and I honestly cannot wait to laugh and cry. I heard you laugh and cry at the same time, so I honestly can't wait. And so yeah, collectively, these are the books for the first 5 months of the year, and I hope this will inspire you to read a book. So how did I get into reading? I told you that I decided to read one book a month, and sometimes I would try to read like a few chapters a week and segment it, but sometimes life gets in the way and I fail to follow those schedules. So sometimes I end up literally just reading the book in the last week or 2 of the month, which is, I don't know, not the best way. You would think I would have learned from Atomic Habits to just show up every day, even if it's just for a page. I'm working on that, but what I told myself is that no matter how late in the month I start, I will make sure that I start and I'll make sure that I finish the book. And I've managed to do that so far. So I hope this will inspire you to pick up a book and read. There's so much knowledge out there, and it really does just open up your mind to different worldviews. It makes you think a bit more, and I think it just sharpens us as human beings and helps us to better relate with other people. Oh, by the way, all these books, well, these 2, I know they're available in South Africa in your bookshops, but I bought mine on Amazon. For those who are not in South Africa, I bought these on Amazon. Then it was a very quick delivery, but I'm sure you can find all these books in your bookshops. Yeah, so please like, please share, please subscribe, and let's help the channel grow. Have a lovely rest of the week, and I'll see you next time with my next video. Goodbye.